Hello and welcome to this 2017 edition of High School Roundup on CUTV. I'm Anthony D'Agostino, and alongside me is my analyst Danny Beck and Stephen Ruffing. And also, this is the new season of High School Roundup. It's also the award-winning High School Roundup. There it is.
There it is.
The Best Sports Program TV winner for the Intercollegiate Broadcasting Systems Award. A national conference. And guys, it is great to be back and great to have a trophy with us.
It most definitely is. And I mean, all of our hard work, it's about time. It's about time.
Yeah, I agree. This show, we have a lot of fun on the show. I think that's what really makes it. You know, we're all ourselves. We talk some good high school football, WPIL. Very, very good football over on this side of Pennsylvania. So
There really is.
yeah, and we work hard. We have a pretty good crew. So
And Steve, Steel Valley, I think, didn't they win the state championship this
yes,
year?
they did. I'm glad you brought that up, Anthony. They did. Steel Valley, proud alum, Steel Valley. They won state championship. They mercy ruled every single team that they played.
It
pretty
was an
incredible.
impressive
Yeah.
team. I watched, I know, on PCN, and they showed little clips and all that stuff. Paris Ford is unreal.
Yeah.
Well, he he still is, I guess. Now he's at Pitt,
Pitt,
right?
right.
And there was talks that he might be getting on the field.
Yeah,
quite a few
sooner
times.
rather than later, for
yeah,
sure.
and that bodes well for him.
Yeah,
and
it does.
The entire
It
Steel
does.
Valley alum.
I think they already made like the high school Hall of Fame, like the high school football Hall of Fame or something like that.
Wow.
Because no team has ever
done that.
went
Wow.
undefeated and mercy ruled every single
Good for
team.
them.
Yeah,
Good for them.
Very proud alum over here.
That's awesome.
Always be proud. Well, it was week 0 last week, something that the PSA, not the PSAC, that's college. We are in college. But no, the PIAA started doing last season, and now even more districts are taking on that as well. But here in the WPIAL, we had week 0, and CUTV actually went to cover the game at Brownsville. It was California at Brownsville, the River Rivalry. And Danny, you have the highlights for this one.
I do have the highlights. And as you said, week 0 matchup may seem like that doesn't mean anything, but those wins earlier on in the season can play huge role later on in the season. So let's get right into it. And the first drive for California, as you see them shaking hands there, it actually started in great field position after Brownsville's punt settled at their own 37-yard line. And as the Trojans took the field, it became quite evident that the run game will be huge for this talented team. As you saw there, Jelani Stafford rushes right up the middle, and to set up Colin Phillips with a 1-yard push up the middle. The next drive for Brownsville, a one-handed catch right there, a fantastic throw also from Lucas Hearn, a junior quarterback, mind you, and Zach Whitlock, the senior for Brownsville. And they would have their kick blocked, actually, so it's going to be 7-6. We're going to fast forward to the third quarter. As you see right here, a familiar name on this high school roundup set, Cochise Ryan, a fantastic kickoff return for a touchdown. And that will put up the Trojans 34-6 with only 13 seconds into the second half. Another run here for California will put them on the board yet again. This time, Zion Aldrich from 10 yards out to make the score 40-6. And actually, that kick will go off the post. As you see here, the mercy rule in full effect. One last exclamation point from the Trojans as the Jelani Stafford will rush in 15 yards out. You see there on the score, 67-6. Jelani Stafford finished with 2 touchdowns and 200-plus rushing yards. Also, Colin Phillips, a quarterback, didn't throw the ball much. Finished with 3 touchdowns, all on 1-yard rushes right up the middle. Very talented California team that we saw.
Yeah, there's no doubt about that. Now, Cochise Ryan, that's a name that we pointed out last season.
Yeah.
And he started right where he left off. What an outstanding performance from him. But Colin Phillips, I mean, unbelievable. A lot of them were just those QB sneaks right on the 1-yard line. But still, I mean, just to have that awareness that he did is unbelievable. He is truly ahead of his time.
Most definitely is. And also, a name that I mentioned at the end, Jelani Stafford, he's a big boy. And he can, I don't know, I mean, everybody was here that is on the set, but he was just throwing people off at will. Well, I think he's 265 pounds.
Yeah.
That's like
Built like a fullback.
Yeah, and that's, I mean, teetering on the line of LeBron James, you know what I mean, with his weight, not so much in the height, but he can throw some people off.
He was built like a defensive lineman.
Yeah.
I wouldn't even say fullback. He was big for a fullback. He was built like a defensive lineman. He's going through the trenches, like running the ball.
Yeah.
I mean, there was people like flying off him.
Yeah.
He would run into them and they would just fly off. He's like deflecting them.
And one thing that I do think that California really needs to crack down on, is their penalties.
Yes.
A few penalties plague them. I thought Brownsville was actually going to sneak back up, score a little bit more than they did. Unfortunately, they couldn't. It seemed like they never really got off the ground, other than that one pass, a fantastic pass.
Yeah.
If they kept that momentum up, I think they could have done pretty well.
Real quick about Brownsville, they had opportunities to score touchdowns. They're wide open receivers, and that's one thing California they need to work on in their secondary is making sure that they're keeping these receivers in check, because Brownsville had plenty of opportunities to score wide open touchdowns, and they just couldn't capitalize on it. But other teams, they might. As we're going to start looking into these scoreboards now from the Tri-County South, all of these games were non-conference here. Sierra Catholic taking on Mapletown, and then Monessen taking on Charleroi. And that Monessen-Charleroi game, guys, it was a record-setting crowd at Charleroi.
Really?
Biggest crowd they've ever had at the Myron
sweet.
Pontius Stadium. And they ended up, actually, it was a win. They won 35-13.
Oh, so Charleroi won.
I messed up that graphic.
I was going to say, because Monessen, coming off a season with only one win last season. Let me remind you, this is the team that ended Clareton's record-setting season.
It's unreal.
And then they go into last season, they win one game. And I was going to say that would have been a really big win for them, but it's kind of disappointing. It's a shame that Monessen's program kind of went down a little bit.
And that sticks with the script, really, with Charleroi. We saw them last season. I think their passing game was pretty surprising to me, and I think that's why they probably scored a few. I didn't see the scoreboard or anything like that, or
it's in the control room.
Play-by-play.
What I printed out for you guys is in the control room right now, but it's fine. So as we keep continuing on the Tri-County South, we have West Green at Bentworth and Jeff Morgan at Chartiers Houston. West Green putting up a big number on Bentworth, but that Jeff Morgan Chartiers Houston game, that was low scoring, 7-6.
Pretty high scoring game, huh?
It was close competition, though. You like to see those in these early contests earlier on in the season. You might have seen, I know for California, 5 different players ran the ball. Absolutely fantastic for them. Just really getting off the ground, a 7-6 victory for Jeff Morgan. That has to bode well for them. That win, as I said earlier on in the season, could play a big role later on. So good for them, getting the win over Chartiers Houston.
Yeah, I mean, Jeff Morgan, this Dennis Garrett caught a 35-yard touchdown in pass from Jacob Broadwater, ensuing an extra point by Josh Clitus. It was good, and Jeff Morgan made it stand in a 7-6 victory over Chartiers Houston this season opener Friday night.
Man, you got a lot of knowledge there in a quick second.
We just got our papers ran out to us. So, but Whitfield rushed 124 yards, very impressive for a high school running back. So a lot of good stuff in that game.
And you're going to take a look at the standings. Like I said, it was all non-conference games. So California, Monessen, West Green, and Jeff Morgan are all at the top 1-0. Carmichael's and Fort Cherry did not play, but Avella and Mapletown did get the loss in this past week. As we now move over to the Century Conference, there is one school board that we have not mentioned yet, and that's Beth Center and Stowe Rocks, and McGuffey at Fraser. Beth Center winning 32-26. McGuffey defeating Fraser 28-13. And Danny, which one are you looking at?
I'm looking at that Beth Center game. I know that we're going to be looking at one of those later on. I see Beth Center and Fraser both on there, heated rivalry. But I'm just going to skip over that one. Devontae Williams caught touchdown passes of 50 and 73 yards for Stowe Rocks. And Amir Austin and William Johnson each had a touchdown. So they're spreading it across the board, most definitely for Stowe Rocks. Unfortunately for them, Beth Center came away with a victory. And actually, Fraser didn't follow suit. I was going to say that. McGuffey 28-13 over Fraser, as you said.
And we continue now into the standings for the Century Conference. You see here, Beth Center and Charleroi, they get to the win, and they're 1-0. Burgettstown and Washington, they scrimmaged. They did not have a game that week. Bentworth, Brownsville, Chartiers, Houston, and Fraser are all starting off 0-1. And I'm looking to see Washington, how they play out. We haven't seen them yet, but they're always a powerhouse in this conference.
Yeah, I was just thinking that Washington really kind of runs this conference. It's all about, I think, second place at this point, because they are and always have been a powerhouse for high school football.
Yeah, and I haven't really even seen much of them, as bad as it is to say. I think I haven't seen any of them. I don't think we saw them my freshman year, and I didn't see them last season. I think I went home for that.
We did see them 2 years ago.
2 years ago.
It was a PCN game, Mount Pleasant against Washington at Mount Pleasant.
And I was not there for that one, I guess. So yeah, it'd be interesting to see. I know that we're covering them one game this season. So as you said, Steve, we'll see if they run this division.
Yeah.
As we move now into AAA Interstate, as we have Latrobe taking on Derry and Yock taking on Freeport. Derry coming away with the victory, 29-14, and Freeport defeating Yock 43-6. And that Derry-Latrobe game, pretty impressive there, 29-14.
Yeah, and that's a huge rivalry right there. Derry and Latrobe always have been, and it was a good game. And the running back for Derry, Danny, you know him fairly well. I can't.
Tripping over his name, too.
Yeah, I know. I can't remember the name, but I'm sure that he had a big factor in that game. 29-14. That's pretty impressive for Derry after they're coming off an outstanding season. They had, I think, the best season in school history.
In school history,
yeah.
I believe so. Yeah, and they continued it. Unfortunately, they lost in the state games. I don't know if they made it to the state games, I believe.
Yeah.
So unfortunately
Definitely.
for them. Yeah.
But Freeport put up some numbers on Yock, and some of the stats pretty impressive.
They most definitely did. Freeport actually scored in each quarter, starting off the game and then also finishing the game strong over a Yock team. And I didn't see that score before I picked the pick'ems today, so maybe we're gonna have to change some live. I don't know. No, but all these are, as you said, non-conference. Most of them, at least. But you know, it's hard to shake off the cobwebs a little bit, get those muscles working again, and get comfortable in a football pad again.
And now we go into the Interstate Conference standings. And as you see here, Derry and McGuffey are 1-0. A lot of teams did not play in this Interstate Conference. Elizabeth Forward, South Park, Southmoreland, and Waynesburg. Mount Pleasant, 0-1, and that's interesting. We'll get to that after the break. Yock, as we mentioned, 0-1, as we're going to talk about what's coming up after this commercial break. After the commercial break, we have the South Union Township Game of the Week highlights, our Quad A scores and standings, and 5A scores and standings. Stick with us here on High School Roundup.
Since 1937, the Student Association Incorporated, known as SAI, has served the CalU student body by providing activities, programs, and services. Every enrolled student has the ability to take part in over 125 different clubs and organizations. Managing participation in every SAI activity is easy with OrgSync, a powerful tool for staying connected. Located 1 mile from campus, the SAI farm has 94 acres of meeting and recreational space. SAI, it's your student association.
And welcome back to High School Roundup here on CUTV, as we are getting into now the South Union Township Game of the Week highlights. And Steve, incredible game put on by Laurel Highlands.
You're not kidding. I mean, I think I'm an honorary LH fan now. I think I got that right.
Yeah,
I think I got that
that
right.
was definitely
So I'm all on board since last season. I have an inside scoop with Jerry Dupay every week. Brings me down tapes. We talk about Laurel Highlands. It's a great time. So
I'm jealous.
you should. Now Laurel Highlands, as we go into the highlights, they came out with a huge win over Mount Pleasant. This quarterback, Connor Basinger, as you see right here, you'll see this a lot, this combination, an 18-yard pass to Jacob Duckman. Now, the pass was great. Connor Basinger did a great job, gets down, and that will eventually lead to this next play. It's a simple 2-yard run, but Basinger just makes it look so good with that fake handoff, reads the defense perfectly, and squeezes his way in. Now, Basinger, we're going to talk about him a lot. Watch this play right here. Doesn't see anything, finds some space, just blows past Mount Pleasant's defense, and that will set up a 92-yard touchdown run. But unfortunately, that play was called back. There was a lot of penalties, and that was a big one. So that one didn't count. End of the first was 6-0 because the extra point was no good. Mount Pleasant trying to get on the board with a Luke Pizak pass to Reese. 62-yard run. Very patient play there by Reese. As they get on the board, they also missed the extra point. 6-6 at half. Now, in to the third quarter. Mount Pleasant picks up right where they left off. Pizak, look at that. A beautiful dime just floats right past Laurel Highlands defense into the arms of Ryan Quinn. 75 yards. Now, the two-point conversion was good, so it's 14-6. Laurel Highlands, I think it was a 7-minute and 45-second drive to set up this 2-yard run by Ian Edenfield, a name we heard a lot last year. And that would end the third, 14-14. And Basinger, another one, 56-yard run. Look at that. I mean, this guy's so good. Finally gets taken down, a 56-yard run. 2 plays later, that will set up Laurel Highlands' game-winning touchdown to end it 21-14. Now, as you see there, next week at Indiana, that's really going to see how Laurel Highlands proves himself. Indiana, they have a quarterback, Luke Thomas. He's about 6'3". I mean, this guy's good. He already has some offers from, I believe, Toledo, Ohio University, a couple more. I got that from Jerry Dupay as well. My little inside scoop.
And you mentioned it, Connor Basinger.
Yeah.
Fantastic on that. He reads the defense. You don't really see that in young quarterbacks much. That new play style is kind of gravitating towards into the high school game, more of up into the college game. But when you can read that defense that well, pull it back. You did mention that, what was it, a 92-yard run called back. You got to be riveting if you're a head coach. You have to be fuming when you see that happen.
It was a personal foul, but I know, Danny, you didn't know I put that highlight in there.
No,
and Danny's looking at me like, whoa, this was a penalty. What are you doing?
Because I watched it. I watched it whenever I played it on Sunday. And Anthony was there, actually. And I was like, Anthony, did you just see that? He was like, dude, that is unreal. And then I was like,
kid's good.
Wait. It was a penalty.
Yep.
Anthony said, he was like, just wait, see if there's a penalty, and then we can talk about it.
They slowly panned over
and
the
And
referee.
I was like,
There it
no.
was.
I was like, that has to stink. But I did know that they won, so it was okay.
You know what? Week 0, let that slide. Just let that. There's a lot of penalties in that game.
Yeah.
It was a really long game. It was a really long game.
And you said it was a 7-minute and 46
Yeah, that drive, a 7-minute and 45-second drive to set up that little run.
The defense has to love the offense when that happens.
Yeah.
Gives them a little bit
Drains that clock out.
Lean back, drink some water, relax.
That could be a big reason they won that game. It's such a low-scoring game. That big drive really sets up that next drive to win the game.
We're now going to look into the Big 9 scoreboards here. Again, like I said, non-conference stuff. Greensburg-Salem at Hempfield. Hempfield coming away with a victory, 49-21. Connellsville beating Uniontown, 46-33. I think Connellsville is going to ride this win. But they're also going to get taken back down to earth once they start that conference play. That conference is so tough, especially for that Connellsville team, guys.
Yeah, Connellsville is a team that we haven't seen much. They a big school and they get a decent amount of kids to play, but there's just something that needs to click there. I mean, there's that missing piece. So they went down, or they got a nice win against Uniontown. That's why I like this week 0. Build that confidence up. Maybe kind of set yourself up for a decent season.
As we have the standings now for the Big 9, we have Laurel Highlands 1-0. Everybody else basically
Top of the
didn't play. Greensburg-Salem and Uniontown are all 0-1. As we now move into the Big East scoreboards here, we have 3 scoreboards. Carson City taking on Armstrong. Armstrong winning 41-14 without Zane Dudek anymore. Gateway 35-23 victors over Woodland Hills, and pretty big win for Gateway.
Yeah, for Gateway, most definitely. Woodland Hills, I came out here my freshman year. It was like Woodland Hills is unbeatable. They were pretty much the Patriots of the Whippeal. And a big win for Gateway. You did mention, though, Zane Dudek out for Armstrong. Still got the victory, though.
Woodland Hills' first season in, I think, like over 20 years without Coach Novak. He retired last season.
I did hear that.
Legendary coach. Their new field is actually, it's Novak the Stadium or something like that. So they renamed it. Heck of a guy. He's from around me, and even better coach.
As we have one more scoreboard here, this is Plum, and we have actually more scoreboard. Excuse me. Penn Trafford at Norwin, 3-0 victors. Penn Trafford, and then Cannon McMillan, 17-10 victors over Kiski. Penn Trafford Norwin, low-scoring game. Penn Trafford will be taking on Connellsville, I believe, next week, and they're about to go crazy again in that game. Penn Trafford always plays well against Connellsville. As we go into the last scoreboard now, we do have Plum at Penn Hills, and Penn Hills shut out Plum 26-0, Steve.
Yeah, Penn Hills they have a team this year. Their quarterback, Hollis Matthew, big game, giving their coach a victory in his first game as a Penn Hills coach. They just hired him, so that's a good start for them, for sure.
Definitely. As we now look at the standings here, Armstrong, Connellsville, Gateway, and Penn Trafford all 1-0. Franklin Regional and McKeesport did not play. Kiski, Latrobe, and Plum are all 0-1.
And you like to see in this conference, as well as a few other conferences that we've been looking at the standings, these teams, or these conferences, excuse me, that almost all of them play. You'd like to see them all get experience earlier on in the season. These teams that don't play, I think they can still scrimmage, I believe.
Right.
Isn't that how it is? But I mean, if everybody's playing, who are they going to scrimmage? You know what I mean? If you like to get experience for your younger guys, you know, a lot of these young talent now are becoming the faces of a bunch of these programs. Just get them on the field, put some pads on, and do your work. You know what I mean? And most of these teams, they're kind of hurting themselves in the respect. I mean, they're probably saving a little bit of energy for later on in the season, but you know, to each his own, I guess.
Before we go to the next break, we're going to tease something brand new that we're going to be airing starting next week with two new guests, Colin Kirkwood and Dylan Godet. It's our hometown scoreboards, and we're going to put up some right now as we have some scoreboards from week 0. Danny, your Central Dauphin took on Susquehanna Township and won 35-7, and then Colin Kirkwood's Millersburg lost 48-19 to Halifax. The next scoreboard is Dylan Godet's school, Buchanan Upshur, and they ended up winning in overtime, 20-19 against Princeton. Also, we will have standings and of our hometown teams, and you'll see there right now as you see the standings. Central Dauphin 1-0, Buchanan Upshur 1-0. LS and Steel Valley, my high school, LS, did not play. Steel Valley, Steve's high school, did not play. Millersburg 0-1, and 0-1 in conference. That was a conference game for Millersburg. So definitely want to try to get on the right track after that. But after the break, we have our upcoming schedules, our pick'em, and our top 3 plays. You don't want to miss it. Stick around right here on High School Roundup.
The Friday Night Lights shine on CUTV. August 25th, California at Brownsville. September 1st, Monessen at Carmichaels. September 8th, Southmoreland at Charleroi. September 22nd, McGuffey at Elizabeth Forward. September 29th, Franklin Regional at Connellsville. October 6th, Trinity at Bell Vernon. October 13th, Rochester at California. October 20th, Newcastle at Ringgold. October 27th, Washington at Best Center. Live on CUTV Sports 1, tape delay, CUTV.
Welcome back to High School Roundup. Here you see our upcoming schedules. This is all the conference schedules. Tri-County South, Friday, September 1st, Avella at West Green, Fort Cherry at California. And our game of the week, Monessen at Carmichaels. And that's going to be an important game as we continue moving on in our schedules. We have the Century Conference, Friday, September 1st, Brownsville at Bentworth, Burgettstown at Fraser, Charleroi at Washington. As we now move to the Interstate Conference on Friday, September 1st, Derry at Elizabeth Forward, Mount Pleasant at Waynesburg, South Park at Southmoreland. Moving on now to the Big 9 Conference. Friday, September 1st, Albert Gallatin at Bell Vernon, Greensburg Salem at Ringgold, Trinity at West Mifflin, and Uniontown at Thomas Jefferson. And then the last conference schedule, we have the Big East Conference schedule, Kiski at Plum, Latrobe at Gateway, McKeesport at Franklin Regional, and as I said before, Penn Trafford at Connellsville. We also have quite a few non-conference schedules where some of these teams in these conferences will be playing a non-conference game. Jeff Morgan at Springdale. We covered that game at Jeff Morgan last year. Cornell at Mapletown. Yock at Best Center. Chartier-Houston at Jeanette. And South Union Township's game of the week, Laurel Highlands, goes to Indiana for that non-conference matchup. And now we have our, what we like to call our pick'em. And you see who is playing the game this year. Gary, me, Steve, and Danny, Colin Kirkwood, and Dylan Godet, the two new guys on the set. The Twitter poll, we have Twitter poll now, so you can vote on Twitter. use at CTV_PA. And Colin Kirkwood's puppy. He's playing the game too.
Everybody
saw
come around.
I didn't know we actually put that on there.
I didn't either until I came here. I thought that was like a joke, and now
thought
it's
it
here,
was
so
too.
it's great. So we're gonna get right into it with our first pick-em.
Oh, jeez.
And we have Monessen at Carmichael, CUTV's game of the week.
Ooh.
Steve, you're going heel. You're going Monessen.
Well, after I didn't realize that Monessen actually lost that game, so I kind of blame you for that.
Okay,
No, I'm joking.
fair enough, guys.
Monessen, it's a prove me season. It's go big or go home. So just starting off like last year, a big dog going heel.
Puppy's going Carmichael's.
What is who's Puppy's source? Because I
It's,
kind of want to see.
Yeah, I want to see.
They're getting
what's-
an inside scoop
who's,
too. I don't.
Who's this? But if a Collins puppy finishes,
Before me.
no, ahead of me.
Yeah. If
Yeah.
they finish above me,
Yeah.
I don't know what I'll do.
Yeah.
I'll cry.
Oh well.
Well, as we move on, Fort Cherry is going to California, and that's a big game for California, seeing Fort Cherry. And Steve, once again, you're on Fort Cherry.
I think you guys forget what Fort Cherry did last season. They completely blew all of our minds.
But I've seen California.
And we've seen Jelani Stafford.
And Coach East Ryan.
Guess what? You saw California against Brownsville. Sorry, Gary. You saw him against Brownsville.
Yes, okay. But if you're putting up 67 with a running back that finished with two touchdowns and 200+ yards,
I don't know. I think Fort Cherry can figure out their run game.
a 265-pound running back running at you downhill.
I don't know. Fort Cherry.
Get out of his way.
Fort Cherry figured out Derry's run game.
All right, well, California is going to figure out it as well.
Well,
All right.
we'll see after Friday what happens with that game as we move on to Yock at Best Center. This one, it's the toss-up, and I like this pick because Yock and Best Center, they're two kind of average schools, and they're going to go at each other here at Best Center. Gary going Yock, Danny, Colin, and Dylan are all going Yock. I'm going with Best Center with Steve here. I like what I saw with Best Center, and that Yock-Freeport game kind of definitely tilted my my pick here, but it'll be interesting to see what happens with Best Center and Yock. Yock has some trick plays up their sleeves. We've seen that before. As we move on now to McKeesport at Franklin Regional, I'm going with Franklin Regional because, sorry McKeesport, but you kind of messed me up last year when I picked you, so I'm not picking you this week.
I'm going McKeesport because literally anytime, if you pick McKeesport, they lose. Every time you don't pick them,
They win.
They win. So I'm going McKeesport on that one.
And I'm kind of just throwing it up in the air with this one. Franklin Regional, please do something.
Next up, Trinity at West Mifflin, another big time here. Colin Kirkwood going with Trinity, everyone else going with West Mifflin. As we move on to the CUTV Game of the Week graphic here, and like I said before, Monessen at Carmichael's, guys. Carmichael's, we usually go in October. We're going earlier in September, and this is going to be a good game between these two teams.
Yeah, I agree. Like I said, Monessen, prove me.
Yeah, most definitely. And Carmichael's really just solidify. They're a small school, but I think that they have what it takes. Last season, they had a very good season. I believe they even went a little bit further than they would have expected. But just ride that high horse, honestly, and just keep doing what they did last season.
Yeah, Carmichael's is going to be interesting. And this is going to be a good high school football season. We got a great show lined up for you throughout the entire regular season and throughout some of the postseason here on CUTV, your local source for WPIAL inside information. So stay with us here on High School Roundup as we continue our coverage through the weeks and postseason of high school football. Thanks to Danny and Steve, my co-hosts. I'm Anthony D'Agostino. Thank you to everyone in the studio for helping out today. It's been a great show, and thank you all for watching High School Roundup on CUTV. We'll see you next week.